to me, I think I'd see the light shine through. And please don't greet me on the street. I'd like to see a world without you. 'Cause I've found there's nothing more that I could say to you. Nothing I could do to change your mind, change your ways and your tune.
Hello and welcome to the hard sell where the stick in the swill-bucket rattles back. And welcome to 2026. It's not a pleasant time to be alive, but still, where I am right now, in reality I mean, not as depicted on your screen, is a better place than many others in the past. Mid to late 20th century South Africa, for instance. Yes, it's another foreign excursion in the rough form of a have a break.
Have a break.
Thank you. And to a particularly heavy time and place. Before we get started, this episode was suggested by my colleague Random Me, whose other works can be found on the Bob the Fish website at bobthefish.org.uk. And he tells me he has more up his sleeve for 2026, so look forward to that. But you don't have to be a contributor to suggest an episode. Just go to the contact page on that website, or better yet, sign up to my Patreon at patreon.com/applemask and pay for the privilege. I'm not advertising this very well, and I'm aware of the irony. So, this episode's about Apartheid-era South Africa. Fun.
So please, don't feel you have to sway or move away from how you feel. And please, say what you mean to say, and always stay with heart of steel.
Look, you don't need me to explain apartheid, and if you do, go find someone else to explain it, and then ask them why you didn't know about it already. But what we are specifically looking at today is its effects on South African television. And the first thing you need to know about that is that South Africa didn't even get television until 1976. That's right, 1976. They had broadcasting, of course, through the SABC, which was established in 1936, but the South African establishment were incredibly, almost psychotically opposed to television as a medium for several decades. I'll give you 3 guesses as to the basis of their objections, and the first 2 don't count. Unless your first guess was expense, which was an issue for most of the first post-war decade. But even then, the main problem was it might give undue prominence to races and peoples other than the Afrikaners who were in charge. And not just black people either. The Rank organisation made inquiries in 1953 but were turned down because they might have tilted the balance in favour of the English language against Afrikaans. But of course, race in the melanin level sense was the main thing, in a country whose society had deliberately and calculatedly deformed itself into a place where the vast minority of people dominated the rest in every possible sense. One of the main movers against the introduction of television in South Africa was Albert Herzog, who was the equivalent of the Postmaster General for 10 years between 1958 and 68. Shortly after taking the role, he ruled television out completely, saying, "The effect of wrong pictures on children, the less developed, and other races can be destructive." The terms wrong pictures and indeed less developed are rare cases of actually keeping the quiet part quiet in a society where dog whistling wasn't really necessary. But it's only dog whistling out of context. Everyone knew what he meant. And he was more direct about it later on, expressing his concern that South Africa would have to import films showing race mixing, and advertising would make Africans dissatisfied with their lot. Eventually denouncing television altogether as a miniature bioscope which is being carried into the house and over which parents have no control, Herzog finally declared it would come to South Africa over his dead body. In the event, it was over the dead body of his career, as he lost his job and indeed was purged from the government and ruling party altogether, apparently for holding Afrikaner nationalist views considered far too extreme, which is a frankly terrifying thing to contemplate. Instead, he formed his own party, whose slogan was, "Stay white, my people." All of which makes television seem rather irrelevant, but with Herzog gone, at least he had a chance now. And his removal was a long way from the biggest news story on Earth around that time, or even beyond Earth.
Picking up some dust. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Yeah, so that happened. Man walked on the sodding moon, in front of a television audience of an estimated 650 million or so. That's except for viewers in South Africa, who had no television, and were distinctly unimpressed at missing one of the most important events in human history. This was basically the last straw, and the government finally commissioned an inquiry into the possibility of finally launching a television service in the early 70s. The commission eventually came back with the answer, well, yeah, you should. Apart from anything else, other countries were launching broadcasting satellites by now, meaning that within a decade, South Africans were going to be able to receive foreign broadcasts. Untouched and untouchable by government censorship. They could end up exposed to images of miscegenation, uncensored black culture, or anything. It was clearly best to finally launch their own television service, with the strictest of controls, of course. That part wasn't too difficult. The SABC was a state broadcaster, after all, already dutifully performing its propaganda duties over the radio and in filmed content for international broadcast, mostly showing everyone of all colours and creeds being really happy and content under apartheid, thank you very much. The initial idea was for 2 channels, SAUK for the whites, with carefully calculated equal time given to both Afrikaans and English, and TV Bantu for the blacks. To the surprise of I expect no one, the second failed to materialise. So on January the 5th, 1976, exactly 50 years before I typed those words into the script, South Africa finally got its own television service.
Dit is 5 Januarie 1976. Ons heet u welkom by die openingsaand van die volledige televisiediens van die SAUK.
Yes, the 5th of January 1976 has finally arrived, and with it the birth of a full television service.
2 years later, it got its first advert, after the licence fee alone proved inadequate funding. Here is that advert.
Here comes Big T. Here comes Big T. Whoa! Them Injuns had ideas about rustling up some Big T burgers for supper. Right, kids?
Right, Big T!
They're gonna be hopping mad when they start sniffing these smoke signals. Cause my burgers are beefier than a herd of cattle. Mighty tasty, too. Big T! Give 'em Big T, Mom. Fastest burgers in the world.
It's like Chris Christopherson playing Captain Birdseye. And while the all-white cast is barely even notable, they did throw in some obligatory racism in the script.
Them Injuns had ideas about rustling up some Big T burgers for supper.
Although it's nothing you wouldn't have seen in Britain at the time. But, getting to the damn point at last, the actual set of adverts we're looking through today, not a single break, just several adverts from the same day, come from a few years later, around January 1982. By now, the original plan had finally come to pass, sort of. SABC television now consisted of 3 stations. Alongside the original Afrikaans English service for the whites, now called TV1, there was TV2 in Zulu and Xhosa, and TV3 in Sotho and Tswana. Which is nice, but they were all still controlled by the state and contained the same pro-apartheid propaganda. And patience with the system was running out, both within and without South Africa, with it now a heavily sanctioned pariah state whose goods were being boycotted, officially and otherwise, all over the world, while the anger inside the country was simmering ominously, before reaching its boiling point in the mid-80s. Not that any of that could be seen in the adverts, of course. Advertising, contrary to Herzog's warnings, actually wants to make you feel good about yourself in society in a general sense, before then turning around and making you unsatisfied with your lot, and it only does that by way of introducing a solution in the form of something you can buy. Like this car.
Excitement is headed your way. A car with out-front technology. Out-front performance with economy. And out-front roominess. Now, the all-new front-wheel drive Mazda 323 is here to put you way out front.
Move out front with Mazda, the all-new 323.
It's a fairly standard advert, really. Look at this Mazda. Isn't this Mazda great? Look at the people making this Mazda. Look at the care and attention they pour over it. The background details are interesting, though. See that paper curl thing at the end? Sigma, South Africa's very own car company. Not actually a manufacturer in their own right, obviously, but they assembled and distributed the cars right there in Pretoria so that they could be labelled as domestic products. To further justify this, Sigma deliberately put together their own bespoke models, only sold in South Africa. The Mazda 323 was one of them, in a 1.6 version using a Mitsubishi engine, because Mazda themselves didn't actually make one. It was one of the most popular cars in South Africa at the time, which was probably a boon for the economy. Of course, as an advert, that advert could have come from anywhere, voiceovers, accents and location shooting notwithstanding. There are some that are very specific to their country, in a product of geographical necessity kind of way.
I've just sprayed a lasting band of Baygon yellow, and if a fly settles here in the next few days, it will die.
She was so calling as a sexy assassin. I suppose if you're a fly, she still fits the profile. Anyway, bug spray. Bugs happen everywhere, and bug spray is sold everywhere. But South African bugs are a different thing. The trigger-happy Huisvrouw here just says flies as a generalisation, but there's about 87 different species of flies, most of them nasty, some of which bite, some of which are mosquitoes, some of which have malaria, although only in certain regions of the country. So all in all, it's quite important to have some bug spray handy.
So if flies or mosquitoes come into a room within days of spraying the Baygon yellow band and settle where you have sprayed, they'll die.
It may have taken them until the mid-70s to have television, but they clearly wasted no time in hunting down Quantel once they had it.
If they don't settle, one spray of Baygon yellow in the air will kill them every time.
All fairly straightforward, really. Kill. Keep killing. Relish the duty.
Baygon yellow for flying insects. Baygon green for crawling insects.
We didn't even get into those.
Baygon lasts. Insects don't.
The sheer joy in her voice, I love it. As long as she's still talking about literal flies, of course.
Hey, the surf's up and the sun's out, so let's jump right in with those summertime sounds.
A Coke and a smile makes me feel good.
Obviously, the big companies like Coke had to be very specific with the adverts they made for this market. Not pictured, of course, is a big sign reading "Beach reserved for the sole use of the white race group." Although some of those tans are dancing on the edge.
Makes me feel good, good.
You gotta smile.
Have a Coke and a smile.
Yeah, see, a couple of those grinning soft drink youths are flirting with reclassification. That's how adverts transitioned back then and there, I guess. Kind of distracting, but anyway, what the hell is going on here?
Some people know they've got a little extra. For them, Kelly has jobs with a little extra, temporary and permanent. So call Kelly for every kind of office job.
You know what, I'm just going to present that without comment. Got enough on my plate with this episode already. Have at it in the comments.
The good jobs come to Kelly.
Nice rainbow.
Our Fundi will operate the new Sansui Hi-Fi from 9 meters away. Let's start with the tuner. Radio 5.
More volume?
Here's the place.
How about automatic record track selection? Track 3.
I wanted to include this one not just because of the bizarre futurism, or the telepathic alien clearly standing in for Japanese people, but the language. Fundy is South African slang for expert. It took me a while to find the etymology of that, and I was assuming, since it's clearly being used by Afrikaners, that it came from Dutch or something, like most of the Afrikaans language. But no, it seems to be a term inherited from Swahili, with variations found all over sub-Saharan Africa to variously mean a teacher, as in the Zulu umfundisi, or a craftsman or mechanic in Eastern Africa, or, as in South Africa and Zimbabwe, an expert in whatever field the context implies. It was even the title of a game show a few years back. Point is that the white minority weren't above appropriating the native languages. But heaven forfend, they breathe the same oxygen.
How is it possible? Simple. Sansui remote control. The Fundis put the magic of sound technology in the palm of your hand.
Sansui. Start every day.
Holy crap, a black face! On the white station yet? See, everyone's happy under apartheid, as long as they know their place. A black man is perfectly free to be a milkman. He just can't own the dairy.
The natural way with Ding Dong Dairy Bell.
Apart from that, it's a pretty standard milk advert for one of the oldest brands in South Africa, descended from a dairy company founded over 250 years ago and still going strong today.
Enjoy the Ding Dong yogurt for a Ding Dong cream, and for slimmers there is cottage cheese. Spread the Ding Dong batter, slice the Ding Dong cheese, and you've made it best naturally.
It's not far from the Got a Lolla Bottle campaign we had at the time, except played a lot more straight and innocent and far less sexually frustrated.
Well.
Going back to Milko at the start there, it's obviously noticeable not just that he's the only black face in the advert, which was obviously inevitable, but that he's basically subordinate to all the white people that come after him, at least as far as the advert is concerned. I mean, you could read it as he's supplying the white overlords with the thing they all need, again by the premise of the advert at least, and therefore is the one wielding the actual power in the equation. Good job, Marxism understander. However, should he fail to fulfill his function just once, what happens next will pretty much demonstrate how the distribution of power works.
So tomorrow,
have a Ding Dong Day Dairy Bell.
Apartheid in microcosm, I suppose. Of course, eventually the system was torn down in favour of true parliamentary democracy, and South Africa's been happy and prosperous and peaceful ever since, as we all know. Yeah. Political corruption is a universal constant. It knows no race, creed or colour. It's just human. But that's still better than the apartheid system, which is deliberately, inherently and almost definitionally inhuman. Bars don't come much lower than that. Next episode, adverts for fluffy bunnies or something, I don't know. Christ, one episode. Start the year as you expect it to go on, I suppose.
Will you ring the bells when you come back? When you come back? Will you beat to the drums when you come back? When you come back? Will you ring the bells when you come back? When you come back? Will you beat to the drums when you come back? When you come back? Will you ring the bells when you come back? When you come back? Will you beat to the drums when you come back? When you come back? Will you ring the bells when you come back?
This has been a Bob the Fish production, one of dozens you can watch right now for free on bobthefish.org.uk. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell, and join us on patreon.com/applemask to support further productions and gain fabulous exclusive content, like my ongoing history of the BBC, your day's viewing on a random day in history, even a few exclusive mini video essays. Plus the satisfaction of knowing that thanks to you, I get to eat regular meals. bobthefish.org.uk. We care because you do.